Hello everyone and welcome back to another Ready or Not video. Today we're talking about the latest update that just went live to the supporter version of the game. It's a huge content patch that adds a whole bunch of new maps, it adds a whole bunch of new map variants, new weapons, and it also does a couple things like removing the cringy voice lines and fixing the AI behaviors to make it not only more balanced but also more believable, just because before I think they were tweaked to be a little bit too cracked. But anyways, guys, if you want to get access to this edition of the game, you have to have access to the supporter DLC, which you can buy on Steam right now. Otherwise, you're gonna have to wait for, I don't know, maybe a week or two, or maybe even 3 for this to get through testing on the supporter branch before it goes live to everyone else, just because Void Interactive wants to make sure that everyone has a good experience when this content patch hits the actual player base. Now, as far as new content in game, if we go over to the map selection here, and this is probably one of the most important things that the players want, is better or more maps, just because you guys have burned through a lot of this content pretty fast. They've done a lot here. So first off, we're gonna look at this first new map that they've added, which is Valley of the Dolls. Now, it's important to note that these new maps are not close to finish, nowhere close. They still need to texture stuff, they still need to fix the lighting, they still need to add the detail, and there's a whole bunch of work that needs to go into these test maps. But it's cool to see that they've already blocked out, planned, and essentially constructed these new maps to begin work on them. So this is really cool, because I think in this game alone, until modding gets to a point where custom maps are created, this game is very dependent on which maps are available and how you can get replayability out of those maps. So just seeing more maps added is a bonus. So Valley's going to be one of those new maps. Another map that they've added is actually going to be Fast Food, which is a, it looks like a restaurant kind of map, or not necessarily like the gas station, but kind of like some kind of diner or something like that, where you're going to be going through and actually clearing that. Now, I'm not going to show you the entirety of all these maps, because I know that first blind run through of any of these maps is always the juiciest and most fun, because you don't know what's going on. So those are just a couple of snippets of the first few seconds when you're on the map, and I kind of want to save it for myself as well. I don't necessarily want to spoil these maps for myself quite yet. In addition to the new maps that they've added, they've also added a couple of different, let's see here, a couple of different variant or game modes to existing maps. On Park 213, they've added the Raid game mode, which, as you guys know, is a more direct action slash shoot 'em up bang bang type of game mode. And on Park 213, they've also added a huge extension to the left side of the map and the starting point. So really cool to see that they're not only adding new maps, but they're also working on improving and overhauling existing maps. In addition to the Park 213 overhaul, if we go to the hotel, there's actually a new game mode called Hostage Rescue here, and even Active Shooter, that are done in a different part of the hotel. It's more like the ground floor slash lobby, and these are pretty fleshed out. As we go through and I show you the footage here, it is gorgeous. You've got reflections, you've got the lights. It's a lot more fleshed out than the existing test maps, right? So these are pretty much going to be your two newest ready to play updates. It's going to be Park 213 expansion and the hotel expansion. In addition to the added game mode for hotel, we also have added game modes for the dealership. We have Bomb Threat is now on the dealership, so you can actually go through and have a time crunch for that mission. And then I think there's also one more on Port. On Port, they have also added Bomb Threat as well, so you're going to get that time crunch on Port. And I don't think they've added anything to farm yet. No new game modes to farm quite yet. This is still, I think, one of the hardest maps in the game. But it'd be really cool to see something like Bomb Threat, where you have to actually go through and clear the entire mansion quite fast, just because this is one of the larger maps in the game. That pretty much wraps up most of the content as far as maps and game modes are concerned. When we go into the actual new guns, there's a couple of guns that have been added to the rifle category. The first we have is the the R7 launcher, which is a mag-fed pepper ball gun. This is very similar to the T15 I have in real life. It's just very funny to note that. But this has essentially rails for your TAC 700. That's all it really is. It's a TAC 700 with rails, so you can put an optic on it, you can put lasers on it, put flashlight. But they also hint down here that it can also fire baton rounds. Now, one thing to note is that you cannot actually switch to baton rounds in game at this point in time. But maybe in the future, you're going to be able to switch ammo types. That'd be really cool, I think. In addition to the R7 launcher, we also have the Mark 1 carbine, which is a new 5.56 AR-15 styled rifle. Just a new rifle to add to the current selection of AR-15 style rifles in game. But yeah, it's really cool to see that they've also added, I believe they added this, which is a Unity riser for your optic for the specifically the SRS. It's now on a Unity riser, so that's actually really cool to see. And hopefully, in addition to this Unity riser, we also see the Unity micro riser for the T2. I think that'd be really cool, just because I think the existing T2 riser is just really ugly in game right now, and it'd be cool to see that. We also have the Mark 16, which is the Scar L chambered in 5.56. I'm upset here a little bit because they don't have the typical UGG boot on the Mark 16. They actually swapped this out for an adapter and a typical AR-15 style stock. So hopefully, I don't know if we get options in the future to get that much customization to where I can actually change out the stock. But good news, right, is we always have modders. So who knows, maybe a modder will come in here and actually remodel this. And that's like something that's really cool with adding in all these additional weapons as well. Is not only does that mean that we get new content as normal players of the game, but means that modders have additional content to mod on top of. So all these additional guns can now get retextured, reskin, sound reworks. They can be completely converted into different weapons. It's really cool to see that we get more stuff to mod upon, just because modding scene has already been taken off in this game. It's actually quite crazy. I even saw a Star Wars mod on Nexus today, so it's pretty cool to see where modding is going to go in the future here. But moving on to the last weapon added here, we have the SLR-47, which is the first AK-47 style rifle added to the Blue Forward to s.w.a.t HRT that we're actually going to be able to use and equip. And one cool thing to note here is that they actually have a unique PBS for this rifle. It's not just, you know, a typical suppressor that they've added on from a different rifle. They're actually customizing the attachments per weapon. So I'm hopeful that this means that in the future, customization gets pretty in-depth depending on which weapon you're equipping. And we'll be able to, you know, switch out the stock, the grip, the forward, rails, whatever it may be. I'm really hoping that maybe not Escape from Tarkov level of customization, but just something else to make the gun yours, you know? But that's really all they added for the new weapons. They've also added, or excuse me, changed the grenade count from 8 to 4, just because, you know, we used to go through, and if you watch our videos, go through and bang every single room because we had enough bangers to do that. Now that we're down to 4, it's really going to make you think about which rooms you deploy these, you know, utility grenades into. Just because, like, before, I think it was, what, 4 times 8? You had 30, or excuse me, 5 times 8. You had 40 grenades to go through on a map and actually bang out every room. Now you've been halved to 20. So, going to have to actually think about when you're using these flashbangs now. But that's pretty much all the additional in-game content, maps, and actually weapons that have been added into this supporter branch. They're going to be coming out with more in the future, and a couple behavior changes have been added as well. So they've actually added in an alarm type for the traps. So instead of flashbang frag, you now also have an alarm trap, and they've added AI behaviors that will actually check out the alarm. So having more dynamic AI behaviors, I think, is going to be extremely important, just because that adds to more replayability in the game, just because AI remains unpredictable. They've also changed a lot of AI accuracy and other skill tweaks and stuff like that. This is really cool because, you know, before in the existing version of the game, they're quite cracked. You can see them come running out the door. They'll just one-tap your entire stack. It's pretty crazy how accurate they are and how fast they were in the previous patch. Hopefully in this patch, they balanced them out a little bit more. Made them a little bit more lethal, but a little slower, just so that we get that, you know, threat, but not as gamey or aimbody as it was in the past. I also have to do a mod video for how to actually mod the AI to get it exactly how you want, and hopefully that mod still works for this new patch. But I'll probably have a guide on how to tweak the AI exactly, or the AI exactly how you want it to be, coming out pretty soon here. And then finally, the last thing I do want to note is that in addition to all the existing, you know, overhaul and fixes and tweaks and improvements visually and aesthetically, they've also changed the voice lines. They've gotten rid of the cringy voice lines. They've added in new talk voice lines, which is awesome. And they've also gotten rid of and overhauled the female voice lines, just because I know some of those lines were just absolutely ridiculous. But that's really cool because I think voice lines are incredibly important to the player's immersion and actually sets the tone for a good chunk of how this game feels. One great example of this is I actually found a mod that changed the male suspect voices into scav lines, Russian scav lines from Escape from Tarkov. And that completely changed the feel of the game. So really cool stuff to see. And then we also have our Spanish voice lines coming soon. That's part of our CAG/dev crew versus cartel mod that we're working on in the background here. But that's pretty much all I have to talk about for this patch. A reminder, guys, that if you have the supporter branch, you can go out and play it now. Otherwise, you're gonna have to wait or pick up the supporter branch before you get your hands on this new content. And I hope we get this pretty soon, because I'm pretty excited to see how fast Void Interaction is actually crunching through this content. And it's just really encouraging to see a company like Void Interactive really put their nose to the grindstone and try to give the players exactly what they want as fast as they can. But that's all I've got for you guys today. I do hope you enjoyed today's video. As always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. And until next time, guys, good hunting out there. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and as always, a special thank you to my channel members. If you want to get priority access to special gaming events and sessions, make sure you check out that blue join button down below. Also, guys, just a reminder that you can buy any of the games I play and our merch at karmakut.com while supporting the channel directly. And just a reminder, if you are looking for people to buddy up with and play with, make sure you find your friends at discord.gg/karmakut. But that's all I've got for you guys today. I do hope you enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. And until next time, good hunting out there.